Philip, normally when we're talking about consciousness, trying to understand it, we have a set of assumptions that are givens, are premises from which we try to understand consciousness. Materialists, physicalists will say the entire world is physical, so we have to analyze from quantum physics to neurobiological systems in order to explain consciousness. Makes sense. Those in the theological traditions, particularly Abrahamic religions, have the fundamental ontology, God exists, and there is a God, the ultimate ground of being, and from that God, we want to understand through the traditions what consciousness, how consciousness emerged, what is consciousness all about. That's all our conversation. What I want to try to do now is the reverse. In saying, if you and I are sitting here independently, we have no external belief system. We don't believe in God, we don't believe in materialism, we don't have any fundamental belief system, but we know what consciousness is because we've discussed it, we appreciate it, we appreciate the hard problem, we appreciate all of that. When we do that, is there a way then we can infer what the fundamental reality is? Whether consciousness is the supreme ground of being, or whether there's a personal being, a creator, is that route possible?
From a philosophical point of view, I'm not sure. From a theological point of view, absolutely. Because you mentioned that the fundamental starting point is the existence of God. So, to your question, going backward, sort of reversing the order, I would argue that it is possible from consciousness to get to God.
How would you do that?
Well, like the mind of the universe. What is Heidegger says? Why is there something instead of nothing? What does it all mean? Where is it all going? What is our part in the greater universe? And you can either discover God or be nihilistic and just end in consciousness. And although I don't think there is a necessary conclusion from a philosophical point of view, although I think that there are arguments, like most Christian philosophers would give arguments that on the basis of conscious experience, we can deduce to the existence of God.
Yeah, I think that is one data point that some philosophers of religion who are believers would use. It may not be the strongest argument, but it is part of a series of collection of arguments for that.
Remember that the Catholic Church has always insisted that the belief in God is not faith-based, but reason-based. So if you say, do you believe in the existence of God? I would say no. I would say I know that God exists, and there's many different arguments that you know as well as I do. Aquinas' famous 5 ways of knowing that God exists are classical by now, but there are many others that can be used. Now, most people today, especially in a secularized society, would not agree with that the existence of God is a belief. I believe that God exists, not that I know that God exists. For example, the church says, do you believe that Jesus rose from the dead? Well, yes, that's not a factual statement. It's not based upon reason. Did Jesus Christ rise from the dead is based on faith. You need faith to say that. But that God exists, no, that's based on
interesting. So you distinguish between the existence of God and the resurrection of Jesus in terms of one being a belief, resurrection of Jesus, and knowing God.
Correct.
Right. And so how then would consciousness help determine or lead to part of your knowing that God exists?
The existence of a purely spiritual being. So human consciousness is mixed in the sense that we need a biological base for human consciousness. Can we argue from that to a purely spiritual consciousness, which I use the term mind of the universe, right? The mind of the cosmos, this this gigantic intellect which orders all things according to a certain set or to a certain framework. So I think that would be the avenue.